So let's compare the differences between the Galaxy S25 and the Galaxy A25. We have flagship versus a low to mid-range phone. So first off, the big difference is going to be the price. The S25 flagship comes in with that same $800 price tag, very typical of a flagship device, very expensive. While on the other hand, the Galaxy S25 you can get for a really cheap price. If you find it unlocked, you can get it for as low as $150 on Amazon, for example, fully unlocked. But you could also find it on prepaid in some places, and they'll give it to you for free. Remember, this is a low to mid-range type of device. So $800 basically versus free. One big noticeable difference comes in the actual size. The S25 is a more lightweight, more compact, overall smaller device than the bigger, heavier Galaxy A25. Build quality, you have in the S25 glass front, glass back, aluminum frame, while the A25 has only a glass front, plastic frame, plastic back. Nano SIM card slot. The S25 has eSIM and physical nano SIM built in, very flexible, while the A25 only has nano physical SIM card slot, so more flexibility on the S25. There's no dust and water resistance on the A25, while you get IP68 dust and water resistance on the S25, up to 1.5 meters for 30 minutes. Although both devices have 120 hertz refresh rate, which is very nice, the S25 is just an overall brighter device. Like I mentioned earlier, you got different sizes, and that comes to the display. You got a very portable, very more smaller 6.2 inches on the S25 versus the 6.5 inch on the A25, but they both have always on display. Software, both come with Samsung One UI, but the S25 has 7 major Android upgrades, while the A25 only gets 4 major Android upgrades. Chipsets vary as well. You have a top-of-the-line Snapdragon 8 Elite on the S25, while you get a lower to mid-range Exynos 1280 on the A25, so flagship versus lower-end chipset. Although both start off at 128 gigs with the internal storage, the big difference is that the A25 has the micro SD card slot for expansion of storage, while the S25 doesn't have that. So advantage, this is the first big major advantage of the A25. You have 12 gigs of RAM on the S25, and a step up from the base 8 on the previous model, versus only the 4 gigs that's starting on the A25. So you got a big, huge amount of RAM difference between these devices, and that's going to be a difference in the future for the speed in both of these devices. Both devices feature 3 cameras on the back, but you got a better setup on the S25, obviously. 50 megapixel main, 10 megapixel telephoto, 12 megapixel ultra wide with really super steady video. The A25 has a basic 50 megapixel main, 8 megapixel ultra wide, and a 2 megapixel macro. The difference also is 8K capability in the S25 versus 4K on the 35. And you could only shoot 4K on the S25 from the selfie, or up to 4K, and you only shoot 1080p on the A25 selfie. You have newer 5.4 Bluetooth on the S25 versus 5.3 on the 25. Fingerprint reader, you have under the display ultrasonic on the S25 versus the more basic side-mounted fingerprint reader on the A25. And you also get Samsung DeX on the S25. And lastly is battery. Big difference here. Flagship S25 only has a small 4,000 milliamp battery versus the A25 has a huge standard 5,000 milliamp battery. Charging speeds are the same with 25 watt wired charging, but the S25 has additional wireless and reverse wireless charging. But that's a big advantage on the A25, having that big beefy battery. So there you have that comparison of differences. Quick takeaways is that you're gonna get a more powerful, faster device, better camera setup on the S25, better build quality, versus you're getting a lot of actual positives on the A25. We have expandable storage, bigger battery, and cheaper price tag. But everything else, when it comes to usability and the low gigs of RAM, and the mid-range, lower range chipset, and the not so good camera system, that's the handoff that you're getting. But that's been my comparison of differences, the big ones, between the S25 and the A25.